Constructing a railway tunnel under the Central Catchment Nature Reserve for the Cross Island MRT line can be done safely, say experts. Now, meanwhile, nature groups have come out to voice their concerns about the impact on the nature reserve. This is the first time in Singapore a railway tunnel is drilled as deep as 70 meters, but it's not uncommon worldwide. The Ministry of Transport announced on Wednesday that a section of the upcoming Cross Island MRT line will run directly under Singapore's largest nature reserve, instead of skirting around it. In order to lessen the impact on the environment, the tunnel will be dug 70 meters below ground, making it the deepest MRT tunnel in Singapore. Typical MRT tunnels are 20 meters to 30 meters underground. Building a rail line deeper underground, however, would come with challenges such as higher construction and operational costs. Now, why has MOT decided on the direct alignment approach, and how does it impact the nature reserve? Now, to explain this, we have Deputy Political Editor Royston Sim. Welcome, Roy.
Hi, Harianto.
Now, Roy, to start off, why has MOT decided on going directly under instead of skirting the nature reserve?
There are four main reasons why the MOT has decided to do so. The first is shorter travelling time. So the direct alignment is about 4 km long. The skirting option that goes around the nature reserve would be about 9 km long. And so the MOT says that taking the direct alignment would result in about 6 minutes less travelling time.
Right.
So the second reason is that because our fares are distance-based, so when your journey is shorter, you pay less. And so they estimate that the fares would cost about 15% less if you travel through this stretch of the MRT line. The third reason is lower construction costs. They estimate that it will cost about 2 billion less to go underneath the reserve rather than around. And the fourth is because of the shorter distance, the MOT says that this is a more environmentally friendly option overall. There will be lower energy consumption in the long run. So these are the four reasons.
Right. Now, Roy, constructing deeper railway tunnel is not uncommon. It has happened in other countries. They have deep underground rail tunnels. So the question is, how safe is this way?
So, like you mentioned, it's not uncommon. Deep tunnels have been built both in Asia and in Europe. So the Hong Kong MTR, for instance, has one station, I think it's Hong Kong University, that is about 70 meters underground, so that would be quite similar to the Cross Island line.
You're right.
And in Europe also, there's a train tunnel under the Alps that's also very deep underground. So engineering-wise, I mean, there are other examples. So that is set. I think one of the main concerns with regards to safety is, what happens when the trains break down? Especially when you're talking about a fairly long stretch, of the train line that is so deep underground. And also bearing in mind when you're that deep underground, it can also get a bit warmer than usual. So there will be contingency measures in place to minimize the likelihood of trains breaking down, of disruptions. So the first thing the Land Transport Authority says will be in place is the Cross Island line will be designed with redundancies. So in the event that there's a power supply fault, you don't have an instance, or you minimize instances where the entire line is down at once. They also want to design the line such that potential faults can be isolated, so it doesn't impact the rest of the line or the rest of the stretch. The other thing is, in the event that if the trains on one traveling in one direction breaks down, they can deploy a rescue train in the other direction to come down, and there will be partition doors, at regular intervals along the tunnel that commuters can, pass through and get to the other side, and then board the train, to get to the nearest station.
Right. Now, right, you see, all that.
And there's just one other thing, if power to the entire section is down, then I think that will be. That's where commuters may have to get off the train and detrain. And so in that, when that happens, the LTA has said that they will try to deploy diesel-powered locomotives and also motorized trolleys,
Right.
to try and evacuate commuters, who may need help, especially those who, may not be able to walk. But I think just one thing to bear in mind is if for some reason there is a scenario where there are multiple trains that are backed up, then whether the trolleys can get through is a question. So in that instance, you may see commuters having to walk. But that said, I mean, the training is a procedure that is taking place in our MRT lines now, and so it's not something that hasn't been done before.
Now, right, all that being said, is it then worth it? Are the cost savings worth any possible impact on the nature reserve?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
I mean, if you're talking about commuters, it's a faster journey and a cheaper one. And I think the savings are very tangible. You have 2 billion less in terms of construction, 15% cheaper fares if I'm going through, 6 minutes less traveling time. So that's all very tangible. But if you're asking, a nature lover, some of them would probably say no. I mean, no savings is worth even the potential impact of the line going underneath and disrupting or affecting the nature reserve.
Right.
I think to be fair to the government, they have conducted a very extensive consultation process. They in 2014, so the project was first announced in 2013.
Yeah.
In 2014, they embarked on a 2-stage environmental impact assessment, and they've consulted the nature groups quite extensively. And so they've taken in that feedback and incorporated it into the design. And so the current design, for instance, tunneling 70 meters underground, is one of the mitigation measures.
Right.
And I think in a Facebook post, Transport Minister Khaw Boon Wan said that going that deep underground would basically almost completely eliminate any impact on the flora and fauna.
Right. I suppose also, Roy, I think it's also too early to say, right, whether the trade-off is worth it. Because at the end of the day, we don't know what the exact impact is going to be, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because on one hand, the savings are very clear. But on the other hand, I think you never quite know what the impact on the wildlife will be until the line is actually built, the construction is underway. And even after it's completed, whether there will be any kind of unexpected or unanticipated impact on the wildlife, that remains to be seen. So I think it's too early at this stage to say, whether the trade-off is worth it, because we can't exactly quantify it as the impact as yet.
Right. Now, thank you, Royston, for coming on to share more on this. To read more on the Cross Island MRT line related stories, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com.